welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, right here in beautiful Fullerton, California. My name is Tomoko Rosas, and I'm a practitioner at the spiritual community. Please join me in stating our purpose statement. We are a loving spiritual community, empowering all to live healthy and successful lives through practicing the principles of science of mind. And thank you all for joining us in person and also online. I have a few announcements before we get started. Today we have a wonderful guest speaker, Reverend Karyn Allen of Capistrano Valley, CSL. Her bio is in the program, and Reverend Bill will be introducing her next Sunday. We have Reverend John Auden joining us as Reverend Bill and Bev take their well-deserved vacation. And on Wednesday evening, we have our ongoing guided meditation at 6 p.m. And our E-Square class is going on, and it is so much fun. We have so much fun together. So please join us if you can. And it's not a consecutive class. It's everything. The E-Square class is a workshop in its own every week, so you could join in at any time. And new date for Come Sing With Me workshop with Beverly will be announced very shortly. And in July, we have two wonderful after-service activities: Sacred Gong Meditation with Terry Wilder on July 17th, and Summertime Fun Lunch and Paint with our resident artist, Karyn Thomas, on July 31st. Sign-up sheets are at the welcome table. Please mark your calendar and save that date. On Saturday, August 13th, Daniel Nemeth is giving us a concert for our fundraiser. Yay! Thank you so much. And more information to follow. So stay tuned for that. And that's it from me, and I will pass it on to Amanda.
Good morning. Good morning. Let's begin by invoking the power and the presence and the consciousness of one mind, one spirit, one life, one love, to bless this service, our congregation, visitors, volunteers, and staff. I extend this warmth to the ushers and greeters, Tommy, our musical director, who is on tour this week, and our guest musicians, Richard, Ihara, the board of trustees who guard and guide our mission, the practitioners who hold high watch, our junior church teachers and students, and our ministerial leader, Reverend Dr. Bill Salisbury, with our special guest minister, a blessing to her, Reverend Karyn Allen. Knowing that this message is prepared and divinely guided for each and every one of us gathered here and watching on the internet, I declare our time together good and very good. Amen.
I need to be still and let God love me. I need to be still and let God love me. When this old world starts to push and shove me, I need to be still and let God love me.
My name is Amanda Blake Secola, and I'm a practitioner here at the Sacred Center for Spiritual Living of Fullerton, where we are so grateful for all of the miracles happening in our midst and all of the folks that continue to support and join us. This reading is adapted from the Science of Mind magazine March 2020 issue, offered by Dennis Merritt Jones, entitled, "Are We Having Fun Yet?" He begins by quoting Charles Dickens' classic, A Tale of Two Cities, the first sentence, which I will paraphrase. "It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. An age of wisdom, of foolishness, a season of light, and a season of darkness." This illustrates that humankind has always experienced a plethora of both light and darkness, good and bad times. It was true in 1859 when he wrote A Tale of Two Cities, and it is true today in 2022. The irony of this acknowledgement is that we need both to be fully alive in our human skin in order to rise above the fray. Besides an abundance of good and joyful times, misfortune and tragic times are and always have been embedded in a human being's life journey. Depending on your perspective, the past 2+ years could be viewed as good or bad. Most agree that they have been on a bit of a buzzkill on many levels, and many are digging out of the trenches of the pandemic and seeking signs of the life they once knew, such as coming back to in-person services at the Center for Spiritual Living Fullerton. As the author Dickens infers, seasons of light and seasons of darkness are going to come and go throughout our lives. Yet our job is to rise above the darkness of despair and find our way back into the lightness of joy, maybe even playfulness. We had to take the pandemic seriously for a variety of outcomes. Countless lives were altered in a multitude of ways, and we do not want to minimize this in the least. Some of us have regained balance and momentum, others have not. Now is when we focus on our philosophy of mindfulness, utilizing compassion, sympathy, and empathy as the connective tissue, which will enable a shift in perspective and perception for the now, supporting the future we deserve. As we adjust the altitude of our attitude, we witness the drama while knowing this too shall pass. To quote another, Oscar Wilde states, "Humanity takes itself too seriously. It is the world's original sin. And if the caveman had known how to laugh, history may have been different." Relating this to Dickens, with all that is happening in our world, it becomes difficult to focus on the light as we are finding ourselves drenched in darkness. Yet the good news is we control the gauges for our light and darkness. You may recall the Science of Mind mantra: change your thinking, change your life. So asking yourself questions like, am I thriving now or merely surviving today? Am I waiting for things to get better, or am I allowing myself to have fun now? Do I display less patience now than I used to? Does my sense of spirituality seem less alive and reliable? Getting a subtle yes to any of these can drag us down and cause stress within. This form of stress has a mind-numbing effect, creating apathy and depression, because it causes our minds into the future or the past where we have no business hanging out. Remember, our life happens in the now and in the present moment. Fear-driven stress wears us all down. It is a surefire sign that playfulness has left the building. Fear and doubt transcend logic and muffles the subtle but ever-present voice of love and trust. When we let serious-itis run rampant, we become difficult to be around. If any of this resonates with you, this may be your call to take a deep breath, to smile, to lighten up just a wee bit. Spiritually speaking, we know that life is eternal, and yet at the human level, we know no one gets out alive. Our life in this human skin has an expiration date. It is our job to ask ourselves, are we spending our time wisely? When we become over-the-top serious about anything, a part of our soul withers and withdraws from the present moment. I know this from my own experience. Our souls came here to expand, to play, and enjoy splashing in the cosmic pool of life. It thrives on joy, optimism, passion, and playfulness. Playfulness is not reserved for young people, nor is it about playing insensitive practical jokes. Yet without the wonder of playfulness, we might miss the present moment. Think about making intentional time for fun, play, and honor the mission of your soul. And now let's pray. It is our privilege to know that God is all there is, to acknowledge the power and presence of the universe, to validate the omniscience we have in the palms of our hand, our ability to tap into unlimited wisdom, infinite intelligence, and the joy, love, and harmony that is ours, gained through our connection to the God within, that resides in me, through me, as me. I represent an individual outpicturing of God. And because I know this for myself, I can also know this for each of you here in the room and on the internet. We are here by divine appointment and embrace the truth of who we are every moment of every day, no matter the circumstance. Our mission is clear: to follow the path of joy, love, harmony, playfulness, accentuating what is ours to do, individually and collectively. Gratitude, thankfulness, and satisfaction describe the emotions in which we touch one another through a loving embrace. Thank you, Father, Mother, God, for this enlightenment. It is with a contented heart that I know the seed of playfulness is in place and already manifesting as promised. I release my word into the divine action of the law, and let it be. And so it is.
From the day we arrive on the planet and blinking step into the light, there's more to be seen than can ever be seen, more to do than can ever be done. Some say eat or be eaten, some say live and let live, but all are agreed as they join the stampede, you should never take more than you give in the circle of life. It's a wheel of fortune, it's a leap of faith, it's a band of hope, till we find our place on the path unwinding in the circle of life. Some of us fall by the wayside, some of us soar to the stars, and some of us sail through our troubles. Some will have to live with the scars There's far too much to take in here, more to find than can ever be found. But the sun rolling high through the sapphire sky keeps great and small on the endless round in the circle of life. It's the wheel of fortune, it's the leap of faith, it's a band of hope till we find our place on the path of longing in the circle of life. It's a wheel of fortune, it's a leap of faith, it's a band of hope. It's till we find our place on the path of winding in the circle of life, on the path of winding in the circle, the circle of
Richard O'Hara, come on. So thank you for that. Today, we have Reverend Karyn Allen up from the Capstone Valley Center for Spiritual Living. Most of you have seen and heard Reverend Karyn before. This is not her first time here. And we've also seen her here with her partner, who was here last week without her. I'm not sure how we got this discombobulated, but you know, Reverend Karyn is half of that group called Allendale. Karyn Allen, Rick Dale. Remember, Rick was here last Sunday, and when we're really, really blessed, we get them doing the vocals and doing the service. Not so today. But I am thrilled to be able to present to us today Reverend Karyn Allen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I just love being here. The energy and the love here is just, it's palpable, so thank you. Well, today's talk is actually The Rose Sits Atop the Thorns, and that is a title that, that Reverend Bill came up with. And when he asked me to speak, I said, you know, I'll take that. It's so juicy. It's just, in fact, that's probably a whole message in itself. So, but I won't let it be. I'll continue. So I think we've all heard that the phrase, there is no rose without a thorn, or some version of that. Well, I must make a confession. Although my father, he's a really amazing Japanese gardener and can make anything grow. But I, on the other hand, I do not have a green thumb. In fact, I could probably even kill a succulent. But what I do have is I love to learn and I love to research. So I took this as an opportunity to learn more about roses. And in doing so, I found out some interesting stuff that I'm going to share with you. So one of the first things I learned was that there are actually roses without thorns. Of course, are some with very few thorns, but that phrase is packed with so much wisdom, as is the meaning we place upon it. So, roses, as we see here too, they're not only beautiful and fragrant, but they're elegant and they're intricate. I mean, they have layers and layers of petals, just like we have layers and layers within us. And since the beginning of time, the rose has represented God at work in whatever situation it shows up. And in the world religions, roses appear as a symbol of miraculous love that's happening all around us. So in ancient mythology, roses symbolized eternal love in the stories between the gods and between gods and humans. And I believe that Aphrodite, Cupid, and Chloris have stories relating to roses. In Hinduism and Buddhism, they see roses as expressions of spiritual joy. And recently I was a religious studies student just down the street at Cal State Fullerton, and I got to visit some Hindu temples. And one of them that I went to, they would place a rose on the altar as an offering of their joy. It's a beautiful thing. So in Islam, Muslims view roses as symbols of the sacredness of the human soul. And also, whenever there is a scent of a rose in the area and there's no roses present, that is a sign that God or one of his angels is sending a spiritual message. And I read somewhere that there are groups of Muslims who pass out roses to the general public on the birth date of the Prophet Muhammad. And this is a message they want to spread of love and beauty and peace. In Christianity, some of the Christians view roses as reminders of the Garden of Eden. And in Catholicism, the scent of roses is often called the odor of sanctity because it indicates the presence of spiritual holiness. And Judaism, the Torah is the garden, and the most luminous lessons within her are each like a rose. Layers upon meaning. And thus, the Holiness Code in Judaism invites us to peel back the petals and see what lies beneath. I think that's just so beautiful. So no matter what belief system one believes in and embodies, the rose seems to indicate spirit in some way, shape, or form. And since we are expressions of spirit, we are also like these roses. So we're complex, divine expressions of God. So during my time researching and learning about roses, I found this. I found this Reader's Digest guide about the meaning of the different colors of roses. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if you can see it, but they each are associated with some kind of quality. And this is not science, just so you know. I just thought it was interesting that we as humans interpret God's creation, these beautiful colors, and interpret them by how it makes us feel. And it's about our emotions and our feelings. So this is us. This is our bouquet of human. I think we all experience each of these emotions at some time or another in our lives. And I think that no matter which one we are going through, which one we are experiencing, it's exactly where we need to be, of course. And today, in honor of these roses that we are, I thought it would be interesting and fun, because we are here to play, right? To do some more research about the roses and to go into the anatomy of a rose and see how that relates to the workings in our lives. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Yeah, because we're here for fun. Okay, so we're going to start at the bottom. So with our roots, right? The roots serve the rose to anchor the plant. They absorb water and nutrients. That is essential to their survival. And they also prevent soil erosion by binding the soil together and keeping them from being washed away by water or wind. So for us, what this means is our own realization, this is so far away, our own realization of our connectedness to life and to God and to one another. This is our anchor. These are our roots. And when we are anchored in this truth, we are better able to gain the nourishment of wisdom, of creativity, abundance, all God qualities, anything from source. And through our difficult times, through the poor weather, through the rain, our roots keep us deeply grounded where we have planted. So our foundation, our core, are anchored in right where we have planted ourselves. Okay, the stem. The stem of the rose serves the rose by lifting up its leaves, lifting up its fruits, lifting up its flowers, and in positioning them in a balanced way that helps facilitate fertilization, pollination, and dispersion. And for us, this looks like aligning ourselves and connecting to the root of our being, which we've already talked about, to God, through our spiritual practices, meditation, contemplation, spiritual mind treatment. This is our stem. And our stem is the vessel that carries the nutrition of wisdom from our source up into the body of our affairs. And it is also our core that keeps us balanced and keeps us as the conduit through which we connect to the divine. So in metaphysics, I don't know if you've heard this before, but in metaphysics, the vertical bar of the cross symbolizes the current of divine life. And this is our limitations, but we won't talk about that. And it's just like the stem of the rose, always reaching up toward the heavens. Now the leaves. The function of the leaves of the rose is to help the plant convert the energy from sunlight into chemical energy that the plant can eat. It's the food. And for us, every day, we are taking in and absorbing whatever's coming our way, whatever we see, whatever we hear, whatever experiences we're having. It's being absorbed into our consciousness. But we have a choice as to what we're going to do with it. And just as the leaves help convert the energy of sunlight into food for our rose bush, our spiritual food comes when we take the lessons that come at us every day and convert those into wisdom that feeds us. That's where our conscious choice comes into play. Now the fruit of the rose is the rose hips. And I learned in my research that the rose hips are actually seed pods. And the seed pods, each seed pod contains dozens of seeds. So as religious scientists, we know all about seeds, right? The seeds are the thoughts we create and the intentions we make, and the ones that we plant and nourish are what manifests in form, what shows up in our lives. So the rose hips with the dozens of seeds inside are just like our infinite capacity to keep creating over and over again. And as we've been taught, everything's created twice. So first in thought and then in form. So we have to be mindful of those thoughts we are creating. We have to be good students of our minds, good stewards of our minds. And this, because the seeds we plant are coming about, and we are responsible for those seeds because that's what we're creating in our minds. And the seeds that we create get dispersed. And so we are also, in effect, creating that for the people around us. So it really is our responsibility to make our thoughts good ones. So the rose blossom itself. It is said that roses are the perfect flower. I don't know if you've heard that, but they say that because it contains both male and female parts. And it was reminding me of last month, Reverend Bill spoke of the masculine and the feminine. And I think this is what they're talking about. We all have that masculine and feminine energy within us. And that creates our balance, that creates our perfection. And that's our divinity. And just like the rose blossom, we are each that beautiful, elegant, and intricate bloom. And we all, just like the roses, have our layers and layers, right? It's our feelings, our emotions, our experiences, our energy. And, roses open up just really easily to the sunlight. They don't take effort. And just like we're open at the top. We are open at the top. And when we are open up at the top, then we are able to experience the possibilities that we are able to believe. So when we stay focused on spirit, keeping our thinking in alignment with it, we are co-creating with God just the most amazing blossoms. And that's each one of us. That's each one of us. Variety of colors, variety of emotions, and just the beauty. And I think it's pretty awesome that we can compare ourselves to a rose because it's such a beautiful, beautiful flower. So, how many of you were thinking, well, what about the thorns? Well, I think we all know that the function of the thorns is to protect the rose, right? By the way, in my research, I found out that according to botanists, they're not thorns on the roses. They're actually called prickles. I don't know. But, for today's talk, we're going to stick with thorns. So what are our thorns? And do our thorns protect us? Well, let's first look at what thorns are. So I view thorns as all of the challenges that we face in life. Maybe some of them are daily, maybe some of them are every so often. But it could be anything. It could be losing a loved one. It could be the ending of a relationship, physical illness or injury, addiction, money problems, emotional distress, caused by conflict or anger or fear or resentment, and the list could go on. And as living beings, we are kind of conditioned to avoid those painful experiences and to gravitate toward feeling good, It's just our nature. But it is moving through the thorns of life that actually make us stronger, help us build up resilience, strengthen our emotional and spiritual muscles so that the next time we have a challenge, we're ready for it. And moving through thorns also helps us to help others through our experiences. So, to answer that question earlier, do our thorns protect us? Yes, in a way they do. They protect us from our own self-inflicted grievances when we realize truth. Poet Dr. Anand Kaur said, "Life is as incomplete and imperfect without difficulties as a rose without a staircase of thorns." And looking back on the past 5 years of my life, I can say that I have proudly gained many thorns. See them? No. I have moved through some of the most challenging years of my life. Aiden can probably attest to that. And I can look at my thorns now as wisdom, my compassion, and my gift to others. Because if anyone has taken care of a sick or dying parent, I can relate and offer my experiences. If anyone has gone through the deaths of 5 people close to you in just a 9-month period, I can relate and offer my experiences to you. If anyone has found their lives so incredibly busy with all important stuff that a day off or downtime is not even on the schedule, I can relate. I can offer my experiences. If anyone has been in conflict with a close family member, disturbing the family harmony, I can relate and offer my experiences. And if anyone held resentment or judgment against anyone, none of us, huh? I can relate and offer my experiences. The beauty of our thorns is that each one of them has gifted us with something. And it gives us something to build our lives upon. And the caveat is that the realization of this gift may take some time for us to realize. Life coach, therapist, and author Shannon Alder said, "Some of the most beautiful things worth having in your life come wrapped in a crown of thorns." And like when Jesus was on the cross, crying out, "God, why have you forsaken me?" we also may not see the gift when we're going through it. Of course, most likely we're not going to, because it feels dark, it feels empty, and we really can't see the light. And so we're not going to see the gift in it either. But we're human. Woo! And that's just part of who we are. And these are the times when our faith is most tested. These are the times when we tend to question our own faith, and it's totally understandable. But the beauty of the realization of our interconnectedness with life, with God, with each other, is that we can sometimes borrow on the faith of others. We can totally surrender and allow God as the people around us to carry us through. Just like you probably have people in this room. As I was getting my thorns, this is a little side note, I was getting my thorns, this thought came to my mind, that, do you think it's true that God makes us weary during our hard times so that we will surrender? Just a thought. So, what is the lesson in all this? The rose sits atop the thorns. I think the big lesson is that the rose sits atop the thorns, not below the thorns, not beside the thorns, but atop the thorns. Because we are lifted up by each experience, and they become our foundation and our strength and our resilience. Because every experience that we've had has brought us to this moment, we know that. And the wisdom is tending to ourselves with the same care and the same attention, the same patience that we would a rose garden. And allowing God to do its work for us as we do the roses as well. When we ground ourselves in an awareness of God, our roots keep us just connected to Source. And when we allow the inner current of divine life to move through our stems, we experience at our core that which brings balance in all areas of our life. And when we absorb the nutrients, like the leaves of a rose bush, through our wisdom of experience, we are energized and spiritually fed. When we use the seeds of our thoughts to consciously create, we bring more good into the world and into our own experience. When we realize that we are already the perfect rose because the divine has created us that way, and we use the thorns of our experiences to make us stronger, then we can celebrate the true beauty of the rose, the true beauty of us, our complexity. It's like the butterfly who struggles to emerge from the cocoon. You know that the struggle is the necessary part so that he can strengthen and fly free. So we celebrate our whole self like we celebrate the whole of the rose, thorns and all. Actually, probably, especially the thorns. But like the roses need the roots and the stem and the prickles to survive, we all need our conscious connection to the divine and our faith to grow. Because we trust that a rose will grow by means of God, so why wouldn't we? So I invite us all to sit atop the thorns of life and blossom into the most beautiful selves we can be. And This is kind of goofy, but I thought it would be, because I'm talking about roses, this just had to happen, and just bear with me. Roses are red, violets are blue, thorns are the road to the beautiful and resilient you. And so it is. So please join me in knowing this truth together. There's only one life, one power, one presence, one beautiful energy. That is God. We are each the rose in God, the rose of God. We are each beautiful and intricate, filled with layers and layers of goodness. We are its expression. And I know that today we celebrate that rose of each one of us. We celebrate our connection to the divine. We celebrate that which we already are. And the realization that no matter what we are going through, no matter what life throws at us, we take it in, we use it to strengthen ourselves, to make ourselves more in alignment with who we desire to be. Always, always as an expression of that one. And as expressions of that one, I know that each one of us goes out and we bloom, we shine, we spread our fragrance out into the world by sharing God's energy, God's love, our God selves in all that we do. And I'm just so grateful for knowing this truth, for this opportunity to be here now. So I simply let go, set each butterfly free to fly and to do its good work. And so it is.
Reverend Karyn Allen, come on. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And let's just know this is our opportunity right here, right now, to share our abundance. Thank you, and once again, thank you, everybody. And for those of us who are not back in the sanctuary yet, but enjoying this online, thank you, and thank you for your continued support, your auto tithes, your mailing in of your gifts, your tithes, your offerings. Those of you who stopped by to see Tomoko and get a little bit of a prayer midweek lift up, thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's just know that we bless these gifts, these tithes, these offerings, knowing they are made from the central core of who we are, which is God made manifest on this plate. We accept them graciously and gratefully. We send them forth to do their good work in this spiritual community, in the community at large, and indeed in the world at large. We send them forward with no strings and no conditions. So it is.
The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of the people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. Now a special guest voice. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, oh yes, what a wonderful world. Yes, I see skies of blue, those clouds of white, that bright, blessed day, that dark, sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky. They're also on the faces of the people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, sing it with me, I love you. I hear babies cry, yes, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I will ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, yes.
Thank you, Richard and Louie. Whatever other personalities are lurking under that fedora. How about if everybody just gets up on their feet? And let's just know this together. There's something wonderful happening through me right now.
There's something wonderful happening through me right now.
It's the fragrance of my rose.
It's the fragrance of my rose.
It's the beauty of my inner color.
It's the beauty of my inner color.
Sitting right here on top of those pricklies.
Sitting here right on top of those pricklies.
I am so thankful.
I am so thankful.
I let my beauty go.
I let my beauty go
To join the rest of the beauty of the world.
to join the rest of the beauty of the world.
So it is.
And so it is.